Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Corona Diaries. It's a Monday, and today is a very special day. We've got a very special guest on the stream today. None other than, let me adjust this first. Yes, let me get a clear visual of myself. None other than the one, the only legendary female wrestler, LuFisto, will be joining us shortly. Yes! There you are! Yes! You had to steal a dude's phone to get here.
I know, he has a Apple, so it's like, just give me your phone. You're welcome.
Okay, so let's be honest, right? So you just took the Pepsi challenge and you know that Apple is better than Galaxy right now.
Ugh.
You have to admit it.
I've never had an Apple phone. I've always been with Android, and that's
Yeah.
I don't know.
But that's the thing, like you start out with something and usually you just stay loyal to that, right?
Yeah, that's what happened, and I'm like so used to it. I know where everything is, so I just don't want to change it.
Oh, I see it. I see a dude in the chat says that he can smell my CTE. Yeah, so what? Jesus. Oh, you didn't know that wrestlers all had CTE. Okay. Well, how are you? How have you been?
Good. The 2 last days have been pretty intense.
Yeah.
With everything that's going with the CCW video, and I had
That's what I want to talk to you about too. Yeah.
5 haters that are constantly on my case, especially one. But besides that, like awesome response. My God, I don't want to say like 100, like, but so many female wrestlers reach out and they were like, "Thank you for saying out loud what we didn't want to say."
Let's go back to how all of this started, because I don't think everybody saw that YouTube message of yours. But can you please go back and tell everybody how this shit between you and CCW started?
Yeah, it started like I know the dates. It was like March 25th. There's a fan who tweets and he tags me in it, and he says, "I don't believe Mercedes Martinez versus LuFisto is a sweaty girl cat fight." And then I go like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Wait," he's like, "That's how you're branded now." I'm like, "Link, please." And then he sends me the link where Combat Zone Wrestling is advertising its women's division. It's not even Women's Superstar United, or back then it was Women's Superstar Uncensored. Now it's CCW Girls with a Z, and girl. And it says like sweaty girls in hard fights, all assets out, top heavy, double D destruction. And all they're showing is literally like stills of her matches with us bend over or ass showing and tits hanging out, like close-ups of that. And
This was under a CCW account.
It was actually, where I saw it was like a press release on 411 Mania Wrestling. This month's like pay-per-view. And then there's a listing of the guys' match and then us, and that's how we were advertised. So I just posted a little something saying, "Come on, Combat Zone Wrestling, like, why do you change the name and why do you brand this like this?" So that's all I said at first. CCW is out and says, "Hey, we saw your message, very sorry, like, we respect you and everything you did, but that's the third party we sold the footage to, and that's how he wants to brand you girls." And I'm like, "But it's your name, but it is your brand." And he's like, "Yeah, we can't do anything about it, sorry." I'm like, "Oh, please." I'm like, "Fuck you guys." And then I'm like, it's not bad enough that I have to deal with the DMs and the dick pics that I get and everything. And it comes with the business. I understand that. We do have sexy outfits. There's sexy pictures out there.
But so do we, right?
So different than the guys, who are actually sometimes wearing less than us because they're only wearing trunks.
Yeah, we're not wearing anything our tops. At least the body guys do not.
I know. So I'm like, the problem here is not the way we look or that this girl is sexy or not. The problem here is that when we gave you the right to use our image, it was to present us as professional wrestlers for on a professional wrestling show that were called Power, Battle Tested, Breaking Barriers. And then now you're like CCW girls and stuff. It's like, we did not accept that. And they just brushed it off. They didn't care. And I gave them 2 months. I'm like, they know it's bothering me. They
Yeah.
know the girls were vocal about it online too. So it's like, they know this is happening. Hopefully they do something about it. I see one pay-per-view ad and it again and again. And then it happened twice. And I'm like, another fan tweeted about it. I'm like, okay, that's enough. Like, somebody has to say something. I tried privately, but nobody was listening. And like, well, what people don't understand is that CCW like has always been a home for me. It's where I grew. It's where I had great matches. It's where my intergender career pretty much like took off with the matches I had with B-Boy, Sammy Callahan, and the feud I had with Nick Gage. So for me to do this, like, I've waited, and I started the video like over and over again because I was like, am I doing this? Am I doing this? It was really like it wasn't something easy to do, but somebody
No, of
had to do
course
it.
not.
Can't
No, of
call out
course not. Because you've got a history with the company, you know?
Yeah, and I'm actually a CCW Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
That's what people don't. It's like, so for me to call them out, it was like, oh, fuck. But I have to do it. I tried privately, and they're not doing anything. And the fact that they just don't care and they just blame the third party, which is a company from New York that's rebranding. What they do is they buy footage from other promotions and all kinds of stuff, and they brand it as softcore porn. Was like the best way I tried to describe it.
No,
And
but
they
the
try
problem is it's an association, and I do not
this.
understand why CCW, why DJ would want to get associated or have you guys associated with porn while it has nothing to
Money.
do with porn.
It's easy money. I mean, let's face it, sex sells. Some of the
Yeah.
girls, they sell their pictures. Some of them even, like, worse, they do have like OnlyFans or whatever where they show, oh, foot fetish. You're making someone happy right now, my friend. But I mean, there's girls who are doing that, but that's their thing. If they want to do that, if they want to use their body, if they want to wear skimpy outfits or whatever, it's fine. Like, I show my stomach, you'll see a little butt cheek. I have a huge breast. You're gonna see them. Like, I have a freaking crack.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: when I trust you with my image, or if I say yes to working for you, and I say yes to work for Combat Zone Wrestling or Women's Superstar. It was uncensored back then. For wrestling shows, wrestling event, I expect you to promote it as such and not change it along the way because, hey, it sells and let's make money. And no, especially without consent, you're going to change everything without
That's it.
consent. Like, that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
I don't give damn if one girl is doing porn on the side to pay her freaking bills during this COVID-19. The fact is, hey, that's what we sign up for. Don't change it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think DJ is out of touch with fucking reality, to be honest. Yeah, seriously. I had a conversation with him just before this whole COVID thing started, right? So he asked me something about promoting in Holland or something because I bumped into him on a show in Germany. I think he is losing it. He is out of touch with reality because he wants a bunch of things that are not possible. Also, he thinks he is way more famous than he is. You know what I mean? So I think I was like, because I've known this guy for years.
Yeah, me too.
But
And
I think like we were talking about CTE, right?
I had 3 concussions over 25 years, so you can say whatever. Like, I do blame the chair shots when I forget stuff as a joke, but honestly, as a professional wrestler,
Yeah, the connection went out there for a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just a second. Babe, can you plug your phone? I think the battery's running out.
And that happens when the battery runs out. You get all these kinds of weird glitches and stuff, you know. But okay, so what was the response from the company when you spoke out?
Nothing.
They didn't
Nothing.
respond.
No, no response from the companies, but I had wrestlers who are actually wrestling there who reached out saying this is wrong. I'm just gonna turn my phone here so
Yeah,
I can
just do it. Just go ahead. Just fix it so you can get a normal connection.
Here you go. It should be fine now.
Well, we've got a little glitch over there, and then it should be. Yes, now you're good. Now you're good. Perfect. You see me okay? Okay,
Am
good.
I back?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
was the response from the company?
yeah, nothing from the company. A lot of wrestlers, though, from CCW, past and present, reached out and they were like, I don't know why they're trying to go back 20 some years ago, especially when the so-called women's revolution or whatever, there's a big part that happened at CCW
Yeah.
with the girl who was in the best of the best. Actually, we're two now. There's me and then Tessa did it.
Yeah.
CCW Gold, the Cage of Death, the I had like numerous
Brutal shit.
match, and they're like going back to this, blaming the third party, but it's still their name. It's still their name. Whatever they're gonna say, it's their brand, it's their name. There was a rumor that I heard, like a lot of people, like I said, reached out that a lot of CCW was sold to the third party. But I'm like, yeah, maybe you sold something, but you didn't sell the girls. I mean, nobody agreed to be branded as such. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we go on, I just want to say one more thing to this guy who has been trolling you the entire time. And I'm not even going to give him the satisfaction of mentioning his name. But dude, if you have a problem with her, you can also ignore her. But I think you've got a fascination, and that's why you're putting so much effort and energy into this. You are a pathetic wanker, dude. Okay, sorry about that.
No,
Sorry
it's
about.
fine.
No, but
It's
it's
a
so
who's
funny.
been
Like,
blackballed by everybody, trying to get attention from people like Josh Alexander and Player Uno. And yeah, we're not going to give him any more time. But here's one thing that I can say: laws on threatening people or spreading fake rumors online in Canada are the worst. Just remember that.
good,
They're the
good,
worst. They do
good.
something.
But imagine like being that sad, like having no
No.
life.
It's, well, like I said, thousands and thousands of people reached out. Were very, they understood what I was talking about. It's not a sexy thing. It's not. Here's the thing that a few people know that I've been vocal about it. I have 2 degrees in multimedia and graphic design, and I've worked for a porn company for like 4 years. I was editing. I was working on the pictures and DVD boxes, whatever. So I have nothing against the porn industry. Like the
No.
adult industry is really tough,
Yeah.
especially for the girls and the guys involved in there. Like if we have a lot of weird emails, they do. And I mean, it's kind of part of their job, but once they go home and they're done with their scene, they don't want to hear about it for fucking another 24 hours. So yeah, it really got out of hand for like 5 people. And this guy, I don't know, trying to be famous or whatever, because he's blackballed everywhere. But no, besides that, man, great support. And from a lot of journalists reached out, see what's up with that. It's
Yeah.
wrong. Say anything about it. So yeah, no, it's overall very positive. And
But
whatever we're doing now is good for wrestlers too. Because if let's say they would do the same thing for the guys, take pictures of them bending over, and if somebody's like a little butt crack is showing or whatever, and they use
yeah,
that and sell that as it would be the same thing. What is
same
wrong
thing.
is the guy who's wearing trunks signed up to be on the wrestling show, and then he ends up on some porn site or whatever. It's wrong. Girl or guy, that's where the problem is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's not talk about this negative shit anymore.
So many other things.
like, yeah, there's so many other things to discuss because, like, for one, what I want to know about is like you're from Montreal. The other day I was watching the Vice documentary about Dino Bravo.
Hmm.
Um, my question is, what type of wrestling did you grow up with? The local or the more international, such as WWE, WWF?
Yeah, it was more the international back then. I was watching it with my grandma. It was the Hulk Hogan time and the Ultimate Warrior. But I really, really got hooked on like about 94. My drummer, I was playing in a band, and he's like, "You got to see this guy. He's freaking amazing. He's building caskets, talking about The Undertaker." And yesterday, I actually watched the first episode of The Last Ride, The Undertaker
Yeah.
documentary. And I was like, I woke up in the middle of the night. I do that for some reason. And I'm like, huh. I kind of like noticed that Undertaker was so much more important than I than I mentioned. Usually when people ask me, why did you become a wrestler?
Yeah.
I always discovered The Undertaker. That brought me to Medusa, and Bull Nakano. That brought me to Japanese wrestling. But Undertaker, from that period of time, from 94 to 97, when I started wrestling, like I was obsessed with him. Like I would collect everything. I had all the t-shirts. I had everything about him because he had that presence. And I remember going to Montreal and I was writing letters to him, like not love letters, but I was like, and I completely forgot about it. And when I saw the documentary yesterday, I was like, man, I really love this guy. He was such a model. And I remember with my very bad English, I don't know if you read my letters, but the poor guy must have been terrible. Like my very bad English back then, saying how cool it was to see him, and he was different, and he was such a great inspiration. And I was pretty much like a gothic kid too, so I was like a creature of the night, that type of
Of
thing.
course.
So yeah, like my love for wrestling, like it really starts with The Undertaker. Like I often like don't even mention it that much, but he's the main thing that like I got so hooked. And yes, from then the matches with Alondra Blaze and Bull Nakano, my friend Luke got me into what you gotta watch Japanese wrestling, and then came in like Akira Kudo, and that's where I was like, I really want to do this. And it all started with that, yeah.
Yeah.
And for the local scene, I only discovered the local scene when I started my wrestling class.
Seriously.
Oh
So
yeah, I
you
knew
you weren't
nothing about
aware of the Rougeaus and stuff?
Rougeau. Well, Rougeaus, yes, they're like a famous family. I know of the Rougeaus and Yvon Robert because they're like bigger, like the Ledukes, the Vachon. Like I knew them. Mad Dog Vachon was very like he was doing like TV shows. Like he was a special guest on some shows. He did even like he was a pirate on a kids show.
He looks
Uh,
like a pirate.
New. It was great, right?
Yeah.
So I knew of them that way. And when I started my classes a little bit before, I discovered like local wrestling. With some of my friends were like, "You gotta come see this," and it was like it was in a city called it's still called the city of Drummondville, and people were so into it. They were rioting, and this is disgusting, but I'll never forget this. Like there was two guys that were called the prisoners, and people hated them so much, but they hated them so much that we loved them, and people were mad at us for like cheering for them. Like we were about like 16 or something.
Yeah, of course, then you'll cheer for the heel.
And this is like so nasty. The fans would go in the restroom, like piss in a beer, like a beer glass, put like cigarette tops in it and spit, and they would throw it on the wrestlers. I was like, ugh. I was like, nasty, nasty. I was like, but yeah, that's my first memory of independent wrestling.
Jesus Christ. But hey, that's good fucking heat. I mean, it
I
might
know.
be nasty. You do not like in Mexico, you do not want to get slashed, but it's kind of a badge of honor, isn't it?
Uh, like, or one thing also, like, you know, those big rolls of toilet paper, like really huge one? They would
Yeah.
go into the toilet, grab one, and throw it at the wrestlers. There's almost a wrestler got knocked out by a roll of toilet paper. It's like, it was crazy. And when I started doing the classes, my teacher was like, I was very shy. And it's funny because when I was playing music, I was, it's like I have two personalities. I'm a very shy person, but then when I was playing music, I was fine. But for wrestling, I had a hard time to kind of let go and be a character, whatever. So my teacher was like, hey, start by being my manager so you can get used to the crowd and whatever. So my first show, there's a lady who jumps and attacks me as a manager. I know, right?
Older
And
lady?
there was a riot, and we had to hide.
That's
And
wonderful.
we had to
Wonderful.
hide so they wouldn't know which car we came in.
Oh, that's so good.
They would destroy my teacher's car. Oh, good
But
times.
yeah, but you have to be proud of that, right?
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, I guess I did a great job. Like they really hated me.
So where in Canada did you come up? In Montreal or?
No, Sorel. Sorel's about like an hour away from it's a smaller city, which is great right now because the pandemic like is almost non-existent here, but Montreal like is infected. But
Seriously?
yeah, really bad. Montreal's so bad.
Oh man. Feel
Yeah,
so bad
Sorel.
for you guys.
Yeah.
Well, we're all
Uh,
going through it right now. I mean, the area where I am, luckily, is not that much infected, but I still don't go out without like a mouth mask on or anything, because like, especially near the capital of Amsterdam, it's like it's terrible right now. Still.
oh, Lord. Yeah, here it's like my area is okay, but Montreal because there's like the subway and everything, they're like you got to wear a mask, and they kind of postponed the schools. Children are not going back to school until September, but in my area, little children are already back to elementary school and everything because it's not that bad. But still, I only go out for my grocery and I buy everything online and just deliver.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I
trying to be
just
careful
I just
still.
threw the troll out, by the way, or at
Oh, it
least
was there. I was telling my boyfriend, I'm like, I'm sure he's gonna show up. Like,
no, he was here from the start. That's why I was making comments at him.
oh
But
man, he's been going on several accounts trying to, yeah.
well, normally I just have fun with trolls, but this is kind of sick, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's to the point where it's really sick right now, and it's um it's past the usual wrestling hate. Like I get like you're old, you're fat, you're no good, the whatever. I'm like, okay, I've heard all those before, but when it comes to this guy was like going over like drug abuse and distribution and pedophilia and accusations of stuff like that. So it's like yeah, he's past the it's being okay. He's at like okay, we're gonna do something about it now.
Do you think he's Canadian?
He is. I know he is. His name is Zachary Stelmach, and he's from Wayland, Ontario.
Oh, so you know who he is.
I know who he is.
But what? Why is this? Is he a worker? No, right?
To be
So
used
what
to
does he
be.
have against you?
I have no clue. It's when I released that CCW video, he just like flipped. I don't know if he's an incel or whatever,
I
or
think he's an incel. He's probably an incel. Those are
he's
dangerous
come back on
motherfuckers. Let's be
come back
honest.
under a different account. I'm telling you, he has like 20 of them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fuck that guy. Fuck. I mean, let's be honest, man. Incels got it rough, but they shouldn't take it out on other people, right?
No, yeah, I was like I said, thousands of support, and those two or three people, like maybe five if I count like the two bad comments on my YouTube page. Like that's five total over 1,000. So hey,
Yeah. Hey, but
most people are smart and they got the message and they knew what I was talking about. So
yeah, and I think like a lot of girls will get
yeah,
that as well,
yeah, and
especially those.
uh, it was incredible how much support we got from our wrestling or male wrestlers too. Like it just amazing the support from her the boys.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, so I want to know about Japan because you tagged with Oscar, right?
Yeah, I did actually in the States. It was not in Japan.
Oh, it was in the States.
Yeah, it was for Shimmer. What happened?
Ah,
Asuka came back then known as Kana. I've trained with her when I went to Japan the first time, and she remembered me, but for some reason I didn't remember her because back like she didn't work as Kana. She was Kana Orai, which is her real shoot name, and I, of course, I didn't remember that name. And she remembered me, and she when she saw me, she was really happy to see me, and she hugged me, and she was like, she kind of tried to tell me that I was very nice to her when I showed up in Japan, and I was like, oh, well, I try to be very nice with everybody. But for her, for some reason, she remembered that. I don't know if I helped her during the classes. I have no memory of it. Um, but she had matches throughout the weekend where people were trying to shake her hands, and she didn't want to. She was a heel.
yeah.
But then we wrestled. I went to, she beat me and I went to shake her hand and she did. And nobody
Right.
was expecting that. They were like, oh, so, so Dave Prazak goes like, well, here's the team. Because nobody was expecting her that she would kind of turn around and actually shake my hand out of
Well,
respect.
to be honest, Luffy, I think you probably beat the respect into her, right?
We beat each other.
Yeah, but like, let's be honest. Like, I remember like the first time you wrestled for WXW was I think in Hamburg against Killer
Well,
Kelly.
and you know what? It was today, 2 years ago, May
What?
18th.
Really?
Yeah, no, they actually posted a thing where it was like a memory thing that they posted today that 2 years ago made my debut for WXW against Killer Kelly in Hamburg.
Yeah, and I remember that, and I was calling that match with Jurn Simmons, who was my co-host just for that day, and I said, "Dude, wait until you see what she does to Callie," and you just came in there like guns blazing, and you just destroyed her. Jesus Christ, finished her off with the burning hammer, and that's when I said, like, you know what? Everybody's jumping through ropes nowadays. Everybody is doing flips. But you know what actually works? Just pure fucking violence. And that's what you bring to the table. Just pure fucking violence and entertainment. So that's fucking amazing.
I'm one of those who believes the work should look like a shoot because it's yeah, I've never been a big fan of flippy wrestlers or lucha libre. I like to see it, but I'm not usually like I'm more of a Japanese wrestling fans because the hard hitting, and I like to get involved in something that is closer to what sport competition would look like. But that's the type of wrestling I really like.
Yeah.
That's why I love Masawa and Kabashi and all the Japanese female wrestlers, like I said, Akira Kudo, Minami Toyota. Um, so it's always something that I tried, and I thought it was missing in women's wrestling: the intensity, the violence, the grit. It is pretty, it is, but no, I like to lay him in without with being safe and everything, but the screaming, the facials,
Yeah.
I think it's the more you let it out and you let people uh that you bring them on the edge of like, is she really killing them, or like they get more into the match,
Yeah.
and you could play with the less is more because all you need is one good hit instead of duck 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 something.
Yeah. No, but it's great that you're telling this because you were at Femme Fatale, and that was because time is like really weird for me right now because of the quarantine. When was
Oh,
this? Was this
we don't
when
know
was
what,
this?
yeah, what year is it? Like, well, we know it's 2020, but
But
with
was it
people working,
2019 or 2018?
I did 2018 where my first match was Tony Storm, and then I
Yes.
got Killer Kelly, and then the main event was me and Meiko Satamura. And then last year I made it all the way to the finals too and winning, and it was
Leyla Hirsch.
again Lana Austin and Leyla Hirsch.
Yeah. Like I said to my co-host, because we were doing English commentary on your match, and I told him, like, okay, look at what's happening here. We're watching all of these tag team matches all weekend long. Basically, all the guys are doing their indie stuff. So most of the matches are very similar to each other, most of the stuff that people are doing. But they're forgetting about one thing, because they all want to do something cool, but they're forgetting about the violence. And I told him, she's teaching the guys right now. This is how you get over. This is how you should. This is fucking wrestling. This is what draws people in because of that realism you just mentioned. Fantastic. I'm a big fan, seriously.
Thank you. And I love the commentating because I remember watching it as like, you're like, here comes the pain, the most violent woman in wrestling. Like, I love hearing this. Like, this is music to my ears. This is like, I mean, yeah, he like you get it. It's like you know what I want to portray, and you guys sold it so good. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to bring to the table. Like, and when we were talking violence, I'm not talking the death matches and everything. I did that, and it's something I'm proud of it because nobody wanted to do it, and I pushed my own limits. I pushed the limits of women's wrestling going through that, but I like you like yeah, the violence, the intensity, the raw, like
Yeah,
having a raw, like feeling of a fight, and that's
yeah,
what I like to bring. And when you guys were commentating, I'm like, yes, they're getting what I'm trying to give the people.
yeah. I think like part of that is because we are from exactly the same generation, and
Mhm.
it's more like wrestling used to be.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I love like most of my inspiration. Like I'll do the super indie style once in a while because depending where I wrestle, I try to adapt the style. But I really, when I need inspiration, I'm gonna go back to those older matches, the Von Erichs, Owen Arts, and Brett. I really like to watch the older stuff because I think it's so much more. Um, yes, you can get inspired by the new wrestling, but basic wrestling will always be there and it will always be good.
Yeah,
So when you need inspiration, you here's what I always say, to know where you're going, you gotta know where you came from.
this is true.
And that's why like most I will build my matches in a more old style where like it needs to be that basic psychology, and then yes, I'm going to add like moves that are more of today. Um, but I want to have that roller coasters of emotion where I want a heel in the match. I want a face in the match. It's like when I was working. Um, I think it's the last Femme Fatale. Vivienne was a clear heel, but my two other opponents, Lana and Layla, were kind of babyface-ish.
Yeah,
But I decided that since I was the more experienced, I needed to be the heel. There's
yep.
always need to be a heel and a face. It's okay, you're still a baby face, but you're the more aggressive one. There needs to be that basic yeah, psychology so the match makes sense. And I always try to, if when I'm in a tournament, I will make sure that my three matches are completely different. The first one was more of a squash. The second one I worked submission. The other one was more of a back and forth indie style. And with the last one, I didn't have like a specific. It's like when you ask the booker, "What do you want?" I didn't have
Hmm.
like a specific guideline, but I was told before that we want to do more business with Layla. So I was like, okay, she needs to be up there after
Yeah,
this match. Even in losing, she needs to be a star. So
yeah.
how can I set up this match? So I put myself over, she's over, and we create like a special moment for her and for me at the same time. And we bring something new to the table. So one thing that people don't know about this
And that's
tournament,
what you
I
did.
didn't
And
sleep,
that's what you did.
and I didn't sleep too. My plane was late, so I flew to was it to Zurich, and my
Yeah,
plane was late. So my plan was to go at the hotel, sleep a bit, and do the tournament. No, I had to go to the venue right away and change. So
Oh
I went,
yeah.
like, my God, over 24 hours without sleeping, going through that tournament in those three matches. And after the show, it was like, "Are you staying at night?" I was like, "Oh no, I'm going to the hotel."
And then I gave you an edible which knocked you out.
Yeah, I was like, I really need to sleep, but I'm really fucked up because I like my internal clock was like, so you're like, take this. I'm like, okay, but like just without, did I take it? I'm not even sure I did because I felt like I was like hungover because of the time difference and
I
the
don't know.
nose. You know
I
what? I don't
think
even
you
feel like
did because like you said like in the middle of the night I just woke up and I was just all weird.
oh yeah, my God, like things were spinning and like, but it's from the time difference, and I didn't
Yeah, that
sleep
will
until
fuck
it
you
was
up.
I'm looking back at this tournament, it's like, how the fuck did I do all
Yeah,
this?
but you did, and 2 years in a row, and that was fucking. I was so proud of you, especially because I know you've gone through a lot, like the year before. I was so proud of you that I got so emotional when you won that. I told you, and then you got emotional as well. And
I
that's
was like,
like,
oh God. And like, yeah, that was an emotional day because like I was going to retire and my knee was bad and I just didn't like it anymore.
yeah,
The wrestling, like everything, like I had the cancer, I moved back to Canada, I had a divorce, I had a big depression. It was like so many things at the same time. It was really heavy, and I remember the just before my knee was messed up, like I was crying before going to the shows. I was like, I don't want to do this. And when I had to jump in my car, I was crying. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And once I would get there, though, I would love being in the ring. But
yeah,
just thinking it to get there was hard for me. So yeah, I went through all that, those emotions until I lost some weight. I met my boyfriend who was like, he's known me for 20 years, but we've never been together. And then I meet him again and he's like, I've seen you work so hard for this. Like I was there at your side without you knowing it, but he knew that he
ah,
saw the girl like in the locker room that was by herself and guys beating her up and stretching her and not wanting to wrestle her. He saw all that, the struggle to get where we
yeah,
are today. And he was like, "You can't quit. It's in you. It's in your blood. It's in your
yeah.
like." He kept saying that, "Can't retire, can't retire," and
No,
I
but you
kept.
can't. The world is not ready yet for you to retire. But I've got a big question for you. But first, I want to go to a couple of viewer questions. Let's go back because Sigma Sarapo, who is a Hall of Famer himself of this show, no, he's a legit. He's the trainer of Cesaro.
What?
He
Hi,
said,
sir.
"How did your 2008 DWA booking in Germany come about?"
Um, I think Chris from DWA, was it him or Jan back then? Somebody sent me an email and we just discussed and it happened and everything went really well. Yeah.
Cool.
I first show I wrestled alpha female. Oh,
Oh, of course, Jazzy.
I got a friend.
Oh, oh, so cute.
This
Oh,
is Axel. She's my little torty Persian. She
oh,
was
she's so
love.
beautiful. She's so
You
beautiful.
noticed, you know what I noticed yesterday? I'm trying to go on your account and I'm like, I'm not following him. No, I'm following his cats.
You weren't following me. You were following my cats, and you went into the live stream as well when they had their birthday Saturday.
Oh, they're so cute.
Cats are cats are amazing. Look, especially like the Persian and exotic races, like they're so lovable,
Oh my
and
God.
they're by your side all day long. And it's like right now, I'm like looking over and they're sitting on mommy's lap, right?
That is so cute.
And they're just offering their cheeks just to cuddle and to kiss. And like sometimes, like my wife tells me, she said, it's almost too much, the love. Do you know what I mean? That you can just almost eat them. It's just
Oh,
almost like
yeah, you're like,
unbearable.
I love you so much. Like, I want to
It's
squeeze
unbelievable.
you.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Okay, Judas Judd Cassidy says, is that Mademoiselle Axel behind you?
Yes, that's my boyfriend. Dumbass.
He's just sitting, so he's on your phone right now?
Yes.
Okay. Champagne Ken asks, LuFisto, who was your favorite opponent?
Oh Lord. There's I'm gonna say in the past year, because I had many over the years. There's so many. I love wrestling Mercedes Martinez, cheerleader Melissa, Wesna.
Is cheerleader Melissa
Le-
still
Layla,
active?
Layla was one of my favorites the last time I was in WXW. I'm gonna say Josh Alexander.
Okay.
Like I had 2 matches with Josh Alexander, and he's so good. The chemistry and everything that we have together, like I was such a fan. And when they announced I was at C4 Wrestling in Ottawa. When they announced I would be facing Josh, I was like so nervous because he's an athlete. Like he's good. Like I can't, like there's no word. Like he's fucking awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
was very nervous. And the day of the show, and I was so confident for some reason. I was like, I got this. And then we went in there, and people went completely nuts. Like the first like seconds of the match, people were already into it and screaming. And at the end, he beat me. It was for the C4 championship. And I stood up. And the crowd stood up, gave me a standing ovation, and they ran to the ring to go like clap
Oh,
on
awesome.
my greatest memory ever. And it is known as one of the best C4 matches that happened last year. So I'm very proud
Awesome.
of it.
So you're still hitting home runs.
I know, right?
So
It's funny, yeah,
in
because
my personal opinion, you are the best wrestler not to get signed, and especially still the best active wrestler not to get signed. Why have you not been signed by one of the two? Let's be honest, there are two right now. One of the two bigger promotions.
there's one, and I don't think I've been vocal about it, and I know from people inside. When it comes to WWE, a lot of people brought my name, but there's that one person who doesn't want me there, and it's been stopping every attempt for me to do anything there. So I don't think it's gonna happen.
Politics are a bitch.
Huh?
Politics are a bitch.
Yeah, at first that's what I was. Back then, my ex-husband asked somebody who's working. I'm not gonna say names because
No, no, no. I'm not
I know
expecting
how
you
they
to.
are, and if they know somebody talk, they're putting people like they're firing people enough as it is. So
They're
I'm not.
firing people left or right. Yeah, you don't want to.
Uh, but that person back then told my ex-husband because he asked him, he's like, "What's wrong with my wife?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Absolutely nothing. She's politicked out."
Oh,
It was that clear. I was like, okay, fuck. And actually, I was talking about the depression, and that's
yeah.
where it came from because I was like, what do I do? What did I say? Why is this person hating me? And trying to find, and then you go back in your memories and you're like, was it this? Was it this? No, no, no. And I'm like, I went to the point almost of freaking out because I couldn't find anything. And I spoke to Medusa uh,
Deuce.
few months later, and she's like, "You have no idea how someone to keep their job are gonna say shit because they think you're a threat." I'm like, okay. And you're like, Medusa is such an inspiration for me, and she's such an awesome lady, and she's always
Yeah.
been. It's crazy for me to say
She's
that.
also forever young, by the way.
Oh my God, she's gorgeous. She is gorgeous,
Like, she
and
doesn't give a fuck. I love that about Medusa because
I love her
is she
so much.
still driving the trucks?
Oh yeah, I think she is. I think she is, but she's been posting pictures lately. Like she looks fabulous, and uh, like when I lost weight, she would always go on my pictures and "You're doing great, lady. You're so passionate." She would put little message, and I would print screen them. I was like, "Oh my God, she was my idol!" I was like,
Yeah.
and it's so surreal. And with her telling me that, that's when I went like, okay, just don't try to find what you did wrong. Maybe there's probably nothing. It is what it is. That's how it's worked. And talking to her, kind of like, okay, just let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it go. And anyway, now looking back, I don't I don't know if it would be a place where I would fit in anyway. I think with my wrestling style, the way you mentioned how intense and violent and everything, I think I would fit better at a place like Ring of Honor or
Yes,
Impact.
but can I interrupt you real quick, right? I think like you're wrestling long enough to adapt, and I think that
Oh
would
yeah,
not be a problem.
yeah, buddy.
Could you, because like for me personally, it was never my goal because like I know myself quite well mentally, I could not handle that system. Could you handle that system?
No, no, because and that's one of the reason where I think it's probably not the place for me. I spoke with a few women's wrestler that are there, and the fact that they control everything they write online, the way they dress, the way they think.
Yeah.
Um, there's a certain freedom that I like to have. Otherwise, I feel like I'm choking.
Yeah.
Some people deal really good with that, and but I feel like I need. That's one beautiful thing about the independence. You're in control of your schedule. You're in control of what you say. You're in control of what you wear. The music. I'm not saying they control the music you listen, but you can't go to the show wearing your Iron Maiden T-shirt. And well, that's what I
Wow.
love. So,
You're a big metalhead. That would be a problem
oh
for
my
you,
God,
right?
yeah. You can't see it, but I have like beer bottles of Iron Maiden here. I have pops of Slayer. Like,
Fucking awesome.
yeah,
Fucking
but I think I
awesome.
really fit better in a place where they would let me do my thing. But as you say, I can adapt. Healer face doesn't matter. I've always been the one like, what's my booking? What's on the sheet? That's what I'm gonna do. I don't ask questions. I do as I'm told.
Mhm.
Unless I feel I can't deliver it well, then I would like, I'm not sure I can do this, or I don't want to stink up the place. So can we find another way to make it
Yeah.
happen, get you the result you want? But maybe some other way because I don't think I could do it well. So yeah. But I've been talking to other promotions. One of the main reason, well, one of the main, I mean, there's so many reasons why I didn't retire, but one of them has been I've been talking to here, people here and there about getting somewhere and contracts and possibilities. Nothing has happened. Something was really close to happen, and then COVID-19 happened.
Oh shit.
So
I
yeah,
I have to
so I
reconnect.
jinxed
I have
like, oh, please, once this is over, please
I have to
don't.
reconnect one real quick, Luffy. I have to reconnect real quick because Instagram always throws you out after 60 minutes, and we're at that
Oh,
timeline.
oh, we keep going.
Yeah, we'll keep going because I'm not because we started later with thanks to your
Oh,
phone, and I
yeah.
still have a couple of questions, and the people have still a couple of questions. So we'll
Awesome.
reconnect, and I'll be right back. Okay?
All right.
Yes.
I
How
was
good?
just, I was just telling him I see you with the bike. I was like, that's what was missing.
You know me, right?
Rico 420. You remember on April 20th, I sent you a message. Hey, it's your day.
It was my day. Thank you very much because I was honored because I consider it my birthday.
Oh yeah.
And also, I've got somebody else who wants to say hi.
Oh hi. Oh my God. Oh, so cute.
Can't keep her up too long, otherwise she'll get high because of all the vapors.
Lord.
Well, at least she's laid back. Hey, Luffy, at what age did you start speaking English?
Um, I would probably say 7, but very slowly. And the reason why is that in Canada we had the Ninja Turtles and they were only in English. So I wanted to watch the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
This playing Zelda. I've always been a big
Oh yeah,
Zelda
we're the same age.
by force right here.
We are the
And
same age.
I, and like in Zelda, some characters, not the first Zelda, but the second one, The Adventure of Link, they
Of Link.
talked. like, what are they saying? And I had my like dictionary right next
Yeah.
to me to translate. And slowly, that's how I started to speak English just by watching TV, listening to a lot of English music. And then when I went to college, I actually went in English. I did study photography in 2 years in English. Then I did my whole multimedia and graphic design studies in college and university in English too.
Okay, so from there on, it wasn't a problem anymore.
No,
So,
no,
but is it for some people a problem from Montreal to speak English, or does everybody speak English as well?
no, Montreal, everybody speaks English. I would say that the younger generation, like from my generation and up, like my mom barely speaks English, especially around Montreal. It's more French. The more you go up north, the less they speak English. But Montreal is like there's so many cultures, different. Like there's a Little Italy, there's a Chinatown, there's like different cultures. Like Montreal has everything, and everybody pretty much speaks English.
What is Montreal like? Because it's a very liberal city, right?
Dirty.
Is it dirty?
It used to be beautiful, and there's places where it's really nice. Like the old Montreal port, you can walk by the water, and it's really I want to say ancient, but like the streets, they did not put any blacktop on it. It's still the bricks. Like it looks really pretty. There's part of Montreal that's really bad and dirty.
Your boyfriend is in the chat again.
He
He
actually
asked,
like it's not your phone. It's like it's an old phone, and he downloaded Instagram on it.
"Do we have any more edible gummies?"
No, we don't.
Well, we do. But I can't toss them across the pond. When are you guys allowed to travel again from Canada? Because over here they're loosening up in Europe.
I think it's gonna be June 21st, but I think they're gonna open up Europe before they do the United States. Because United States, it's pretty bad down there. So
Yeah.
I see the Canadian government opening up the U.S. border. I mean, it's open for merchandise and important traveling, a business aspect, but for casual traveling, it's not. And I don't think it's going to be until at least September, if not later. But Europe, maybe sooner.
Yeah. Because it would be great to see you in Europe again, man.
Oh, I want to go back, and just before this happened, I was actually talking with Rings of Europe to maybe do something in.
I work for them.
You work for them, well,
Yeah.
yeah. I was talking to Mark about. He was like giving me dates and stuff too. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, let's happen. Like I'm gonna, but then COVID happened, and yeah,
But for Rings of Europe, you would be amazing for those girls because he books a lot of girls for glam and
yeah.
they all look up to you. They all look up to you. And like you would be like amazing to just as an inspiration and all the like the knowledge you required and stuff over the years, man. It would be great. Speaking of that, what do you think retirement will look like for you? Will you separate yourself completely from the wrestling industry, or will you focus on the next generation, or what do you think you will happen?
Well, I tried to retire, and it was a total fail.
Yeah,
That's when I tried to slow down. I started doing seminars, and that's really one thing I love. I love helping the new generation. Like, I've always felt that when I started, I needed that wrestling mom, that wrestling dad, that guidance that I didn't have. I've
yeah,
learned a lot by making mistakes, and it's not that I was being an asshole, or I just didn't know better, because I had nobody to teach me. Like, yes, I did have like my schools where I went, but I would jump from one school to another because back then school would not stay open long. So I have always tried to be to provide information and be available for the new generation if they had questions. I love putting matches together. What are your moves? What do you do? Okay, wrestling's not about moves, but since you do this well, that would be a good fall seat. That would be a good. No, this looks more like a hope spot. This looks more like a if you're a heel, let turn around where or you're starting your heat or something. I love to take what they have, try to hide the weaknesses, and use what they're strong at, and just put a match together. I almost feel like fulfilled as much, if not more, than setting up my own matches. When I
Yeah.
see new, girls or even guys, they go out there and they have that good match and they follow the basic rules of how to build up a match, and I help them, and then I see they're succeeding. I feel very fulfilled in seeing that happening.
Yeah. What?
Now, so I would probably just change role because I just love to help. I just love to be there, and
Would
yeah,
you promote again because you promoted before, right?
I promoted a little bit, but promoting is hard. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's a
dealing
headache.
with a budget, and then the car rides, and then the postering, the ticketing, the web, because I did the website, the tickets, the posters, the flyers, and then if somebody cancels, you redo the card. That was like, oh God, sweet. I don't,
Yeah.
it made me like hate wrestling. So I don't know if I would do it again. Like maybe I could help, like if somebody needs like more as a consultant, I would think, but
Yeah.
having promotion, I don't
It's a
know.
burden, man. It's a
Oh, it
burden.
is a burden. Oh,
Just
and
takes away the fun.
yeah, and honestly, like people don't know how hard promoting is until you do it. So it makes me like so like appreciate the promoters so much, and I make sure when I go to somewhere to say hi to every ring crew, because if they're not there, it's the show's shit, the ring might fall apart. So
Yeah.
I always try to make sure I say hi to everybody, and because everybody's as important. Yes, there's the wrestlers, but there's also the referees. There's your announcer. There's the staff. There's the bookers and everybody that's like, because we show up there and we do our job and we leave. But for them, like it's a whole month or whatever, a week, whatever of work they're doing between how many, whatever, how long they have between shows. The work never stops. And then on top of it, now you have the social media aspect. So it is so much work, a lot more than people like
Yeah.
think. So for
Definitely.
anybody going into independent wrestling and you're trying, kudos to you because it's hard.
How's it going, Rico? It's so great that you brought Luffy to your stream. Thank you very much, my friend. This gentleman gave me an aioli recipe, which I'm certainly going to try out next weekend. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Know what
So,
that is?
what kind of advice would you give to aspiring female wrestlers?
Um, to well, any wrestler, just find a school that will respect you as an individual. Never forget that you are a human being. Yes, you are a wrestler, but you have to go back home after and live your life. So just make sure as a human being you're respected, that you respect everybody that's been there before you, and learn your history. You again, to know where you're going, you got to know where you came from. There's people before you who paved the way. Know their story, know how hard it was for the women before, so that today for you it is so easy. Because I mean, wrestling's never easy, but by God, like everything is so much easier for the students today. Because
Yeah.
back in the day, you had to prove that you were tough. You couldn't say that you're hurt. Otherwise, you were, in better lack of term, you were a pussy. Like they wanted to see how tough you were, and you have to prove people wrong nonstop. And different times. Today, you got teachers that are caring, that will listen, that will teach, and I mean, you see it. Students learn a lot faster now because they're not constantly beat up to see how tough they are. They go into the classes and do the motions. Like I always think about people who are trained by a guy like Jonathan Gresham.
Hmm.
Um, you can't ask for a better teacher. Like everything he
He's
does
great.
is
He rolls.
perfection.
Yeah.
So now
So
you have
smooth.
you have that guidance from him, or if you're in England, and you're a woman, you can learn from a woman like Soraya Knight. And if you're in Australia, there's Madison Eagles. There's so many people you can learn from and get their knowledge. And so just be a sponge. Just get all of that and listen yeah, just know where you came from, and then you know where you're going.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Luna Fashawn live?
I seen her live in WWE because I went to see some shows where she was performing, but unfortunately I never met her.
Right. Because like when you started out, you kind of reminded me of her. Were you
I was
inspired?
um I think I was in a way because when I was watching, like I said, it was Alondra and Bull, but Luna's always been there too.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because when I started training in Sorel, but then when I moved to Montreal, a wrestler by the name of Len Kojak Shelley, who was working for International Wrestling back then, um, he saw me at a wrestling class and he took me aside and he's like, "You're bored." He's like, "You remind me of my old friend Viviane Vachon. She wanted to do more. She wanted to be better. She wanted to kick everybody's ass." He's like, "You're just like her." And he took me under his wing for about like a few months and would teach me Viviane's, well, that was Luna's aunt, Luna, and Mad Dog's sister, Viviane. So
Oh, that's so
she,
cool.
yeah, it is. Like you said, really reminded, and I had the blonde hair like her too, and the same kind of size.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You remind me of her so much." So he would teach me stuff that she was doing. So yeah, in a way, through him, I guess I got the Vashon experience.
Yeah, that's fucking like what a coincidence that I just said it because like
Yeah,
I was kind of thinking because I was watching some of your older stuff and stuff and like some of your top 30 move where you were just fucking assassinating people. But and you reminded me of Luna. But what I also want to know is like we all know like the famous footage of you wrestling Necro Butcher. How did you get into hardcore wrestling, and why was it against men? Because it's such a violent spectacle anyway. How did
it,
that
it
come to be?
yeah, it started at the ICW in Quebec. There was two brothers were promoting, and most of the people didn't want me to wrestle because I was a girl, but Serge, who was one of the brother, was like, "You can wrestle," because I was doing the classes. He's like, "You know what? Fuck them guys. They don't want to wrestle you. I will wrestle you." And it's like, okay. And he was the champion back then, the provincial champion. And I already had like a male championship in Ontario, a cruiserweight one, and he was the provincial one. He's like, "You know what?" He's like, "I don't care. Like, I'll wrestle you." So we have that one match. People are going nuts. He's like, "Let's have one for the championship." Like and
Cool.
we had the match, and it ended up being in the crowd. Chairs went flying, and I ended up in the guardrail. People went nuts to the point where I thought there was going to be a riot. And in the end, I beat him, and it was the loudest pop I've ever heard back then. And they kept it on me for a while, but it all started like that. It wasn't planned. It just happened. He was like known as one of the top heels back then. And he's the kind of guy that would just look at you and you would be intimidated.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
he had that look. And yeah, I've worked with him, and hardcore started this way. And every match, I would always get that comment from one of the boys, like, "Why you do this? You're a girl." Oh, you don't tell me that. So every match I would push the limits. So added the tables, added this, and this. And then I ended up in Mexico. Because Mexico in 2002, Lucha Libre Femenil reached out. It's like, "We want to bring the hardcore style for the women here."
yeah.
Because why I was not wrestling other girls in hardcore? There was no other girls. That's simple. And I
No,
wanted
no,
to
you
wrestle.
basically started the women's revolution on the indies.
There was no other girls.
Yeah.
So I went to Mexico. I thought the girls started with Princessa Suke and then Paulie Star and stuff, and we had feuds and stuff, and then came in the lights and the barbed wire and the thumbtacks, and every match I wanted to do more and more and more and more, because I didn't want them to say like, ah, she's gonna stop there. I would hear like, oh yeah, she's not gonna take that. Oh yeah, watch me. It was always about proving people wrong, because there was always doubt that I couldn't do any, like, she's just a girl. She's too
You had
small.
a chip on your shoulder.
So every time more and more and more till, yeah, I battled up in Mexico with the girls, and then it kept going with the guys. I went to Ontario, got banned. I fought the government so I could wrestle the guys. Then I met, like, I call, that's funny, we call each other the sister from another country, but Mickey Knuckles. Because she started, like, she was doing that on her side too. She was wrestling guys too in hardcore matches.
Yeah, for Ian.
We finally met.
What was that like? Because I've never seen your match.
Mickey, like, is so, she's one, for better lack of words, she's one tough bitch. One of the nicest people too.
Who's the tallest of the two of you?
Her.
She's taller.
Taller than me. What did you say? It's funny. Yesterday, is it yesterday or the day before? Somebody posted a picture of me and Oscar, and it goes like, "LuFisto's smaller than Oscar." Is like, yeah, everybody's just taller than LuFisto. Period.
I thought owls were huge. Huh? I thought owls were huge.
No, we're small and very vicious.
How did you get that name?
Because I was doing the anime thing, right, with Peekaboo, and the thing with Peekaboo is it started as a one-time thing. Like, people always wonder, how do you end up with a doll? And I was working for Shimmer back then, and ROH was coming to Montreal, and Daisy was one of their top baby faces, and they're like, "Oh, we'd like to have a women's match."
Yeah.
So they hired me for that show. It's like, you're going to be a heel. And I was like a very big baby face at Shimmer, and back then they were working together. So it's like, oh, what do I do? So I asked Dave Prazak Shimmer, is like, what do I do? Because my character's all bubbly and very like, yeah, you're an anime. He's like, well, don't change it, because people from ROH and Shimmer, they know that we work together. But he's like, tweak it enough so there's a difference, but it's still the same character. So I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And for some reason, I ended up watching The Addams Family. And Wednesday, that doll, and she looks at her brother and goes, she removes the head. And then she looks at it, it looks so creepy. So I was like, oh, here's my character. I'm going to be that anime that's like weird, that sees flies and hears voices and talks to a doll. So I started the match, and I'm in front of Daisy Hayes, and it's like, her name is Peekaboo, and she doesn't like you. And I pop her head up, and I give it to Daisy. She's like, ah! And then I attack her. So, but here's the problem. The doll was so over more than me, so I had to keep her. It was supposed to be a one day thing. And they're like, oh yeah, Peekaboo. I'm like, motherfucker, she's so over.
Oh shit. You have to compete with the doll.
Walmart, and I like painted stuff on her face, and I made her like a little dress with one of my socks. So yeah, to get to the owl thing, when Peekaboo, I kind of, because I was getting older, so I was like, I really don't feel good being the anime and playing a young girl when I'm like 35 now. And it's like, I need to change, because animes were everywhere too. And I feel that we need to be unique and change. And there was a lot of people doing cosplay and whatever. I was like,
we've got my guy over here. He has a Peekaboo t-shirt somewhere.
Oh,
Best movie he ever had.
People still ask me about her. But yeah, so I was like, I need to get rid of this anime thing. I need to move on. I need to, there needs to be an evolution here. So I killed Peekaboo, and my first thought was like, when you're like the samurai, when they lose their master because they die, they're ronins.
Yeah.
So like I need to use this, and I was looking for a name that would represent me as a person, and I was like, I'm definitely like I was looking for an animal or something, and an owl. An owl is somebody who has knowledge. It is very majestic, but can be very violent if you attack their babies. And if they need food or they need anything, like they will attack out of nowhere. And I'm like, Alice probably would represent me like the best. And at a show, it was supposed to be the Ronin owl, but the announcer messed it up for the wounded owl. So I was like, wounded. All the scars from hardcore, like they're on my body. They tell a story. And eventually I just dropped the Ronin and kept the wounded owl because it described everything of the past 25 years. And that's how I just kept the name and made it more, especially when I'm a heel. When I'm a baby face, I don't think it works as well. But when I'm a heel, I have the headdress
Yeah,
and I
that's
have
awesome.
the long jacket that looks like feathers and stuff. So when I'm a heel, the wounded owl really comes to life. When I'm a baby face, I'm gonna work more the like my love for metal
Yeah.
with the jackets and stuff. But yeah, that's where the wounded owl comes from.
Awesome. Awesome. Good name. Suits you very well. Okay, closing off, I have a question for you about somebody else.
Okay.
Do you have any good Teddy Hart stories?
Oh, he owes me money.
It's you. The thing is, like, I've
I
like
have
I've
a
heard
few.
I've
A
heard
few.
him a couple of times. I've heard him speak on podcasts, and I always thought this is a very interesting character because I think he's got like a severe, like judging from the way he talks, he's got a severe case of ADD or ADHD or something like that. He's somewhere in the spectrum. I think he's like really misunderstood, and I think that's like he feels that, and that's why he comes like finds himself in these weird situations. But what is he really
Mhm.
like?
When I first met Teddy, like I said, like I gave him money for gas that he never paid me back, and I don't think he would remember anyway. But then I've worked with him in Pennsylvania, and he was our champion for a while, and it was a total different guy when I met him again. Very polite, very grateful, and he would always say thank you for having me on the show, and he would send us text messages and God bless you, I love you, and very, very thoughtful. So that was like I saw the two different Teddy Hart, and he would love my cats. Of course, he would come in, and
Of
I met
course.
Mr. And actually, Loyalty is a baby of the cat that I had in Pennsylvania. The She's like the sister of Axel from the
Really?
second. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, so he has one of my babies.
that's so
But
cool.
I haven't seen Teddy since I left. But yeah, when we worked with him, he was easy to work with. Always like put on like great matches. He had great matches with Facade, and yeah, he was very very nice and thanking us for taking the opportunity of working for us. And well, he's a cat lover,
He's a
so
cat lover and he's a weed lover, so he's good people in my book.
so
Okay, we've
cool.
got one last question.
Sure.
And that is, Luffy, any chance of seeing you again in a tag team with Jordan Grace?
I hope so. I really hope so because me and Jordan, we had such great chemistry. I've always felt we complemented each other so good because I was like, I'm more of the brawling experience aspect, and she's the youth and the power. So we mesh real good together. We always had like great matches, and she's such a hard worker. She takes this very seriously. I see a lot of myself in her, and I love her very much too.
She's very young, isn't she?
She's Jordan Grace is as old as my wrestling career. That's that was the joke between Baby Pog and Mama Pog, because usually
Yeah.
I mean I could be her mom.
Yeah, you could literally be her mom. That's so funny,
Yeah,
man.
but I had a great time with Team Pog. I hope it happens, again, event like in the future. And the funny thing with Team Pog is it started as a joke because we had a match, and then we started, reading the comments on YouTube, and it was like there was like creepy stuff. And then one guy goes, "Oh my God, look at those two Pogs slugging it out," and I'm like, I'm like, what is a pog? I didn't know. It's like maybe because I'm French. I'm like, what is a pog? And then I go online, fat ass white girls. I'm like, oh. But then Drew Cordero from Beyond, he's like, you guys are so over online. It needs to be a team. It needs to be a team. But then we're like, we don't want to be, fat ass white girls, but
Yeah,
we really want to capitalize on this stupid thing.
yeah.
So Annie Social, I'm gonna give her credit. She's like, "Oh, Team Pog, professional athletes with glutes." I'm like, "Here you go."
Nice. Very smart, and you could still utilize it. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at those pogs slugging it out.
I know. It's funny because when the CCW thing happened, they were like, "Well, you guys were Team Pog." And then there's a fan who goes, "Yeah, professional athletes with glutes. What do you think it stood for?"
Do
Like,
your homework, motherfucker.
I know,
Jesus Christ.
like,
Jeez. Hey, I really hope like all of this shit will blow over with all yeah, what will it blow over? Will they remove it? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm happy that now it's out there and people are aware of it. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who are like, I'm not going to support this. So I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully there's going to be something done about it, or at least there's the promotions who were thinking about it are not going to do it because they
No.
know the repercussion now.
No, they shouldn't. And good for you for stepping up. You're a true locker room leader. So if not for you, you know who else? You know what I mean? And a lot of girls are probably scared of their positions. And I love the fact that you're just not giving a fuck. And I'm just proud of you for like standing up for yourself and for everybody. Good on you. Seriously, seriously.
Thank you.
So we've come to the end of this interview. Do you have any last words for your fans and viewers?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter and at LuFisto, Wounded at LuFisto on Instagram. I have a Patreon. I'm sorry, there's no like porn in there, but there's a lot of stories and there's matches and there's music and all kinds of stuff. We're having fun. Patreon/LuFisto. What else? I have my YouTube channel, all kinds of stuff. You don't know, like this is all hard for you to remember. LuFisto.com. I'm working on it to make it better right now. But yeah, you can find everything on my website.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll see each other soon
I
once
hope
this whole
so.
COVID thing blows over. Okay. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you guys for
Thanks, guys.
watching. Tomorrow I will be back with Kenzo Richards. Bye-bye.
Bye.